From nothing comes something.
Morning, rockers. We're at Reed Park, formerly known as Linkin Park, the inspiration for the band. A band that I never liked. I was the kid that would boo them at the festival or eye roll every time that one of their songs came out at the market. And actually boldly once used to claim that they were the most overrated rock band in history. The question is, this new rendition of the band and the latest disc, would it change my perception, and or would it just deepen the nails even further? The result may shock you. I was not expecting what I found. So let's find out.
I'm Nirvan Wright, and this is Grafikmetal, where rock and metal is celebrated with design in mind. And this is our latest Grafikmetal reviews, which will review the album, but at the end we'll also reimagine the branding and album cover designs, which is something that we like to do on this channel because it's really, really interesting. Normally at this point we would do a background check on the band, but let's be honest, 99.9% of the world knows exactly who this band is, so there's no point. It's important though to note that I actually am, I'm not a fan of this band. I never have been. In fact, I don't even register them as Linkin Park. I just associate them as a random band that I once came across, back when they were called Zero with an X. Which ironically is also the dual meaning of the latest album title, From Zero, meaning, from their past and their specific formation, right? This is actually the first time that I've actually sat down to listen to a Linkin Park album since Hybrid Theory 24 years ago. Yeah, I know, I'm rare. My disdain and distance apart from this band after all these years is exactly the reason why I wanted to do this album review, because compared to the millions of people out there, my perspective is going to be very unique because of this very reason.
I decided, if I'm going to do this though, I'm going to do this the right way. Give my undivided full attention, mind, body, and environment. To just let it soak in, right? So I decided to take a trip to find this park. The park is Reed Park, formerly known as Linkin Park, which is located in Santa Monica, California, and is where they got the name from. So I figured, what the heck, I'm going to listen to the new album in the very park where they, formed and got the inspiration for their name from. So, see you at the park. The park is located in Santa Monica at Wilshire 7th and Lincoln, hence the name. Fun fact is that when Chester, the passing of Chester, rest in peace, the fans petitioned to change the park name, but ironically, no one realized that the park had actually already changed names. The city had changed it years ago for a notable city council member in Reed back in '95. They were going to keep with the actual name Linkin Park as actually spelled correctly, but after doing some research, they really wanted a .com domain, and the best bet was then the changes. So they changed it to ILINKIN to get that said domain. And one last thing when it comes to the branding, now reflecting back the fact that they became such a massive, band, it's kind of crazy and hilarious to imagine what it would have been like if, to have had millions of people chanting Plur or what was it? Platinum Lotus Foundation. These were the other names that they were actually considering before, settling on Linkin Park. The park itself, by the way, is absolutely nothing special. It's got 2 basketball courts. It's got 6 tennis courts. I think it looks like the tennis courts happen at night. You can play at night. That's cool. There's homeless people now all around, and in the park itself, park grass area is pretty small. It's a pretty small park in general. There's also a kids playground area and some buildings that, quite frankly, I don't know entirely what they're used for. Looks like what was like a church, but that's all fenced up at the moment, so I don't know if it's active or has been active in a number of years, but yeah, it's just a super simple basic part. But anyways, I'm gonna put my earbuds in now, and join me as I listen and give my thoughts on the latest album while strolling through the park. All right, track 1. I love the way this starts. I honestly wish that more bands would do this. It's an excellent way to remind everyone, hey, there's actually real human beings that are involved in this. It just makes it feel more human and personal, which I love. So I definitely like that. And actually, yeah, there we go. So I'm assuming it's Emily that is speaking. She's about to say that dual purpose meaning behind the album before getting abruptly cut off to now kick off song 2. Emptiness machine. Your blades are sharpened with precision. I only wanted to be part of something. Yeah, it sounds like grieving. No shock there. I think everybody just assumed that this is exactly what this album concept would be, right? It just makes total sense. I believe that the band has 2 new members. Emily being the new singer, and let's see, it looks like Colin Bertain is a new drummer. And immediately, you are introduced to them, right? The sound is also sharpened with precision. It's the production, right? It sounds raw, authentic, old, right? Which is great to hear. I'm not a big fan of the modern BS production techniques. So I definitely like the sound, and it feels sharp. It feels like it's hitting hard. But I guess a combination of the production sound and also the lyrics. But this just kind of comes off as a ripoff of Hybrid Theory, quite frankly. It's like the 24 years since the last time I listened to him. It sounds like nothing's changed. We also instantly get to experience why exactly they chose Emily Armstrong. I'm not saying that she is, Chester, and I actually don't think that I'm familiar with her, but the sound, it sounds familiar. And I think the reason why is because, she's in that ballpark of that same kind of raw energy and emotion that Chester was always notorious for. So that, and then again, the production, the sound, and the, these blatant copy of it, it feels like, old alternative rock and new metal, a la like Hybrid Theory. Track 3, Cut the Bridge, it does nothing for me. It's almost like the entire point of it was, okay, we introduced Emily, but now we're gonna, what did I say his name was? Colin. It was introduce Colin, the new drummer, because that's pretty much the only purpose of the song. It's very flat and generic and boring, but it does have, the drums, kicking in, but I don't care. It's not like I never would ever imagine coming to a Linkin Park, song or album to listen to drums. It's just, whatever. Heavy as a Crown, track 4, same thing. It does nothing for me. It does look like it's garnered a lot of attention already, and I get it. But for me, again, from my perspective, as I mentioned, like, I'm coming in from Hybrid Theory. And so to me, this is literally just a Hybrid Theory clone. And so it's just super boring to me. It's another skippable song for me. Over Each Other, track 5, it's okay. I like the concept of it, and I appreciate that at least it feels a little bit more like, late 2000s alt rock rather than like yet another clone. So I do like that, but it's way too short, and it just feels unfinished. All right, okay, I hear you, Emily. Track 6, Casualty. It's interesting. Okay, well, I mean, look, as a metalhead, of course, I love the energy and intensity. But to be honest, okay, I wish that I could sit down with the band because I'd be very curious. Look, let's take this with a grain of salt here. Like, I don't know them. I'm not there present to see what actually is happening. But I'm just reacting to what I'm hearing, and it comes off like, okay, Well, Chester was always known for like that, bombastic range change of pace of going from, rap and singing to, like that raw, intense, emotional screaming, right? So it was almost like, it almost comes off as this like, okay, well, if you're gonna be the new singer, like you gotta do that. So Emily, have at it. Let's see what you got, right? And they're like, oh, you can, okay, all right. So let's do it then. I guess what I'm saying is I would like to know, because it doesn't feel like this is Emily and Emily gets to just be her authentic self. It feels like, whether it's Mike or the band or whoever, is like, all right, you got to do this because this is Linkin Park and this is our image. This is what we're expected, to represent, and so you got to do this. Track 7, Overflow. It kind of sounds like them attempting to be like a modern prog rock band, which I do like the evolution of the sound that it carries and builds into, and I do like that 3-minute mark. With the blast beat drums and the raw intensity of the emotion. I do like that moment for like 15 seconds, but overall the song just feels completely unfinished. All right, Two-Faced, track 8. Okay, we get it. It's you introduced and told us your brand point on your debut album that you were a combination of half, rap, rock, and new metal. We get it. This just comes, it feels forced. It feels like, oh, we just are trying to check off the boxes to remind everyone, hey, we're back, and hey, look, we did a great job finding a new replacement for the drummer and singer. Like, yay, us. Pay attention to us again. Number 9, Stained. Okay. Mike doing that typical thing he does, that hybrid of, singing and rapping. Ooh, I do like that tone, that note that Emily is holding. I do like that. That's strong. Oh, and okay, they're bringing back that classic Mike sings something and then Emily in the background, duplicates it. That was always the technique I remember from Hybrid Theory. But then this is just on repeat. It's just repeat. Agia, I'm curious what the meaning of this is. Oh, okay, I gave you everything. Yeah, okay, all right, gotcha. It's just repeated. I mean, again, this is one of my biggest knock on, super popular songs and bands like this, is that it's like, come on, think about song structure. You don't just repeat. Plus, actually, when I'm thinking about it, that was a poor choice because, so it's an acronym, right? But like, it would have been way better if it would have just been kept a mystery. That would have, especially nowadays, you build a suspense and people trying to figure things out. Like, that would have been way better than like literally, just repeating it. Now I don't need you, and I'm never going to listen to this song ever again. Good Things Go. Okay, last track, 11. Sounds like 311. At least it starts off that way. Okay, now it sounds like a broken record. It just sounds like another song from Hybrid Theory. Okay, we get it. I don't know. Okay, so my key takeaways is that first is that this is not an album. It's just not. This comes off as, it's only 30 minutes long, for God's sakes. It comes off as just a random collection of ideas that they were experimenting with in the studio with the newbies, right? That's really all this comes off as. This is haphazard. It's not, feels lazy. It feels forced. It feels clearly intentional to want to, say, hey, we're back, and we did a good job picking the new members, and here, this is proof, and in order to prove that even further, we're gonna just basically clone exactly what we did with, our debut, and now we're even gonna, build the branding around that to make sure you get the point that we're back to being, like Hybrid Theory, or Zero, right? And again, it's important to remember that I have a very unique perspective because I'm coming directly from Hybrid Theory. I'm going from Hybrid Theory to this, and so like to me, this was completely uninteresting. Whereas the millions, billions of people that do come with this, with experiencing the band all the way through up this point, you're going to have a completely different perspective. You're probably going to feel this is fresh and exciting and very fulfilling. But for me personally, at the end, we're just back to where we started from, well, nothing.
All right, so not the most positive of reviews on the latest album. True. But from nothing comes something. And in my case, a wonderful thing happened. So, in this endeavor, it prompted me to want to do something I've never done before, which is to listen to albums 2 through 7. And I gotta say, it's not what I thought I would find. Okay, Meteora, still crap, and Minutes also just okay. But Suns, what is it? Things, Party, and one more light. That's where I'm changing my tune. I no longer view them as the most overrated rock band in history. In fact, my tune has changed to I feel bad for the band. And here's why. So when listening to then albums 2 through 7, what I discovered is that this is not just a clone. I mean, sure, yeah, my experience then with going from hybrid to then now from nothing definitely feels that way. As if the same would apply to albums, 2 and for the most part 3. But it's 4 through 7 that everything changes, where they clearly showed that they wanted to push, to experiment, to evolve, right? What a crazy concept to do. But shame on us, definitely shame on the fans, because I took a look at the stats, and this is just downright unfair and disrespectful. I mean, are you kidding me? Look at these stats. This is unfair to artists, right? Here's a band that actually then does the right thing and actually explore and do creative, interesting things, be a human being and evolve. And this is the consequences, right? This is actually the real reason probably why then From Zero is such crap. Because they probably felt like they were forced to. I mean, it also is probably a memoriam to the past and whatnot as well. But generally speaking, let's be honest. My tip is that I hope that we can be more willing to adapt and adapt with the bands. All right, enough. Now let's move on to design and branding. Naturally, with the latest album From Zero, I got no qualms with the album name and title. I think it's perfect. It makes a ton of sense, right? So great. They also did a smart move in continuing to evolve their brand logo mark. I looked into it, and this is actually what the evolution of the brand logo, and they've kind of adapted to it for each of the different albums. It looks like they're trying to match with the concept, which I always love. I think that's brilliant. It seems like Mike actually has a background in visual arts and design, so there's some experience there. This one, I like it a lot. I feel like it's unique, it's fresh, and most importantly is that it comes off as like spray paint tagging, which I think captures like that youthful feeling of going back in time to their roots. So I think that it captures it really well, which like some people are going to criticize this version because it's incoherent, right? It's just mess, it's just noise, and they think logo marks supposed to be literal and communicate, which isn't entirely true. Yes, that can be effective, but what can be just as effective, just no different than like an abstract painting, it can be just as powerful, if not even more powerful, when what you're really trying to do is evoke the feeling, the energy, the mood, the vibe, that brand, right? It's a feeling. That's it. We're emotional creature, right? That's the key, and I think that this does a fantastic job of it. The album cover, though, design, on the other hand, I'm indifferent. I'm not entirely sure. It clearly looks like it's done
it through a photo. It's like a photograph, right? And it looks like, you know, it's some kind of like liquid explosion, or like dye in water, or a pill that's dissolving in water, right? But I'm not. Looking back, you know, at then their history, and it looks like one of the trademarks is that they like that the album cover literally represents the concept idea. You look through all of them, and that's kind of what ends up happening. So for this one, what I'm having a hard time with is understanding what this photograph or series of photographs that's meshed together, how this evokes from zero, from nothing, right? Like, I mean, yes, it's pretty colors, that's cool, but I'm not sure here. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. I'd love to hear what other people's thoughts are. But with that said, I think that there was an opportunity here.
All right, so while strolling through the park, I couldn't help in listening, you know, to the new album and just kind of taking in the environment and my experience listening to it. I kept coming back to the same, you know, idea, theme, concept. And then I came back around to the concept, right? So from zero, the idea is from nothing comes something. And I figured, why not take advantage then of nature, right? Because it symbolically can then represent exactly what the theme is. And at a certain point, you know, so I was touching, you know, the bark on trees and the leaves, and, you know, walking on the ground and whatnot. At a certain point, I even amongst the plants, I came across, you know, dirt. I tried doing it there actually initially, but unfortunately the lighting was just off, so I came to another spot where I could find, you know, like dirt, right? But the idea is that, so I also noticed that, you know, the new logo mark, the new rendition, I like it. It's pretty strong. And it's also simple enough where it can be, you know, recreated relatively easily. And because I initially even associated with tagging. And then I was like, well, it could also just literally be created through like the dirt itself. And then it kind of like really hit home. It's like, oh my gosh, like this really makes a ton of sense, because it can represent all the things that you're trying to go for with this concept. It's like literally dirt, you know, the memoriam to Chester, obviously. But then also like the regrowth, the grieving through, and then, you know, the positivity of moving forward. And so it's also remembrance and a tribute to their past, right? Even the fact that you're even then, you know, using it at, you know, the park where they originated, you know, the idea from, like, is even that much further symbolic. And then, you know, it also then connects, you know, and grounds us to nature, which I think would be a really welcoming thing right now, more than ever, right? So there's a lot of really interesting things there. Plus, you could even go further of using then other elements, like, you know, like rocks to make the formation of the mark, or leaves, or whatever. Even further, I thought, like, even live, they could literally play in the dirt. Right? It's playful. Again, it's symbolic. It's beautiful. They could literally bring piles of dirt and then put it on stage, right? And then play on it. Like, how freaking cool would that be? So, great. But like I mentioned, unfortunately, when trying to do it literally at the park, at the time I was there, the lighting was just off, and so I couldn't really. It wasn't working. So then I came and found, you know, another area where I could find, you know, like dirt to actually use as a playground, right? So now comes the attempt of actually creating this and see how it translates and whatnot. I really wanted to use like a pink dye or like pink paint. I was like, well, that's not good for the soil. So I was like, I can just already envision like how many comments would be criticizing that. So, but unfortunately, you know, the water, right, is Whereas this perfectly representation, it just, unfortunately, it's not as, you know, vibrant. It did not turn out the way that I was envisioning, which tends to be how it goes. So, backup plan. I think just simply a pile of dirt that's like turning like a pyramid, it's shape of a pyramid, because then that symbolically still represents the same thing, but it's just visually more appealing, especially for an album cover. So, all right, it was worth it though. So there is actually, in fact, a plaque memorial for Chester Bennington in the park. But unfortunately, they're doing remodeling with this like church-like building. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like it's clearly, I was talking to the staff and people in the park and whatnot, and nobody seemed to even know that the plaque even existed, other than the fact that it's apparently small. They didn't know where it was. It took a while. I had to look at like photos and whatnot from people and kind of figure it out. And so I figured out that it is, in fact, so it's behind this fence, which is why I talked to them and they won't let me through. I can't get over there. So unfortunately, it is what it is. But at the intersect of where like the space gap between the cement, where it crisscrosses, is a small, very small plaque. I'll show a photo of it. That's where it's actually located.
Let me know what you thought. Up next, like I mentioned, is going to be Opeth. Going to be doing them along with continuing Blood Incantation. Also got the daunting task of ranking all of King Gizzard's albums. That's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, until then, I'm Vera Von Wright. You've been watching Graphic Metal. Cheers and keep on rocking.